Then the other thing that secular songs promote is lust, right? Which is another counterfeit of love. So there's infatuation, counterfeit of love, because it's just irrational feelings. And is it really love if it it dies off after some years and then they get a divorce? I don't think that's a love. Like true love, like we define 1 Corinthians 13, endures all things. It endures, like you said, also it endures.
Yeah.
It stays, it's loyal. So yeah, infatuation is a counterfeit of love. And actually that's exactly what the devil does. Right? He always comes and tempts us with counterfeits. Counterfeit pleasures. So John 10:10, the thief comes in only to steal, kill, and destroy. But I come, Jesus comes, that you may have life and life abundantly. So when the devil comes and presents infatuation, he's only here to destroy you. Then the other counterfeit is lust, also to destroy us. Yeah, so lust leads to fornication, right? Sex before marriage, all the other sexual immorality. And okay, what are the practical consequences of that? Practical ones are like STDs. Another practical ones are unwanted pregnancies. And then unwanted pregnancies, what do most of the women do? Okay, I don't know if it's most, but a large proportion of them, out of convenience, will opt for an abortion. In other words, they will use murder to cover up the mistake they made because of the lust. So I know it seems like a stretch to say that secular songs are leading to murder, but I am sure that secular songs, and along with the rest of the media and the culture, play a role in increasing the chance that this happens to women.
Yeah. Yeah. Because like the music also points to the culture. And yeah, the music nowadays, I believe like back then the music about love and whatnot is kind of different than
Yeah.
what we have now, right? It's
way
like
less sexual.
way less. So I think like it really does point to the culture already. I don't think it's that much of a stretch, honestly.
Whoa.
Yeah. I think because we have music in our day-to-day lives, like we're literally listening to it daily. So if someone listens to lustful songs in more parts of their day and they are already practicing this kind of lifestyle, then yeah, they will be like, they almost have the same feedback loop.
That's
That makes
reinforcing
sense.
them.
Yeah, it's reinforcing them
Yeah.
to like keep going with this lifestyle
Yes.
because that is what the lyrics are saying
Yeah.
already. You
And
know?
like, oh, it's normal.
Yeah.
Just like the APT song, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So the APT lyrics, what is it actually saying? What's APT?
APT means apartment, but I know APT, I don't know. It's
Yeah,
some kind of
apartment.
drinking game as well.
Oh, okay.
Yes, but I also know like it means apartment because part of the lyrics are saying like, hold on, I'm on my way
Yeah.
to the apartment,
Yeah.
guys. And it also
Like
says,
I need you, I want you
yeah,
here at the apartment.
yeah. And it's also like drink, dance, smoke, freak, party all night. And
Oh.
kids are singing that
Yeah.
and dancing to that. And so like from a young age, we're going to normalize that. And it's not just from the start of ABT. There are for sure other songs that we ourselves, like our generation,
Yes.
were singing and it was inappropriate for us to
Yes.
sing. But why should we keep allowing this to happen? Like my problem isn't just with the APT song. It's with general songs like these, and we're allowing it in our children's lives just because, oh, it's normal. They're not going to be affected by it. You're already like normalizing this kind of culture in them. You know, why should this culture be normalized? Don't think it should be just because like, oh, but it's not explicitly about sex. Like it just talks about drinking. Like that makes it any better. I don't know. What?
What
Okay.
happens commonly at parties, at clubs, right? Where there's drinking, partying. Then what does freak even mean? I guess go crazy?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What happens
exactly.
after that? And it's like at someone's apartment somewhere. What do you think happens after that?
Exactly.
It's obvious. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're saying like, no, but the rest of the song doesn't really point to romantic connotations, you know? So it's not really about sex. But like, I think it was either the first verse or the second verse. They're already talking about like flirting with each other.
Yes.
Like, I don't know. I don't remember specifically what, but they were flirting with
kissy
each
face
other.
icons.
Yeah, kissy
emojis.
face, kissy face. So it's like, you sure about that?
Mm.
Yeah.
Exactly. How is that drinking? Kissy face? Like
Yeah.
that's the emoji with the heart, the kissy mwah, right?
Yeah.
How is that drinking? You know, if it's drinking, then the person will send the beer
Yeah.
emoji, like
Yeah.
beer emoji. So the
Yeah.
kissy face thing, how is that only about drinking? It's obviously
Exactly.
this is a partner, right? A lover.
Mm.
Yeah, and then they want the partner to come over to your apartment. There's people say drinking game. Yeah, it's probably that drinking and the fornication
Yeah.
that they are talking about.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's last at least to sexual immorality.
Mm.
And how does this all lead into destroying marriage and family? Because in Genesis, the devil only came and tempted once the marriage started. Once Adam and
Mm.
Eve were united in one and married, then the tempter came and came to Eve.
Oh.
So Satan hates marriage and family because marriage points to Christ and the church.
Yes.
He hates that, and he hates family because marriage and family is where the love of God is most shown.
Whoa. You're right.
Yeah. And he hates family because of children. Children are how we are to God. We are God's children. Yeah. So he hates these, and how do these things, right, infatuation and lust, then affect marriage and family? So back to lust, back to sexual immorality. Even secular studies show that those who live together before marriage, in other words, they're doing everything together, they're acting like a married couple, and before they are married, have a higher chance of divorce. Why? Because when they are already doing it, okay, the brain chemicals, even in secular books, they say that the brain chemicals, when you're engaging in that fornication, clouds the judgment of is this the right person for a lifelong marriage. So they end up making poorer choices. Then those who live together, same thing, right? The sexual part, and also the inconvenience of moving out, because it's like, oh, I already live with the person, I'll just get married, even though they're not actually right for me. So these things increase the chance of choosing the wrong person, and that's why higher divorce rates. Yeah. So okay, divorce, we understand that really hurts the man and woman involved, but it also destroys the children's childhood with a bad marriage, gives them lots of trauma when the divorce happens. Then maybe they'll grow up in a single parent household, and in a single parent household, again, secular studies show that it's not ideal. The crime rates of children in these households are higher. Yeah. So you need, because God has designed for children to be raised well when there's both a father and a mother present. The mother to give the nurturing, the tender care, the father to train, to coach, and to toughen up, to be the authoritative parent.
Yeah.
So we need both for optimal child development.
Yeah.
And the stability that marriage provides, also the security, is so important to a child, that they need to feel that I am in a secure and safe place.
Correct. And I think if they suffer through the parents' divorce as well, I think they might also grow up with the wrong idea of love. They might also end up like imitating the same dynamics that their parents had, because they believe that, oh, but this is the only way I saw love. So this is normal. They're gonna like grow up with a normalized view of flawed love. Yeah. And that just repeats the cycle, you know? It's so crucial to make sure that you are prepared against all of that. Like any influence for that. That you put on your armor and are like, okay, no, I'm not gonna allow this into my life, even if it's a subconscious influence on me, right? This is so important. Marriage is so important. Family is so important that I'm willing to forsake all of these things that might affect that. Even if it's just a song. Like, who knows how much influence that a song is going to be on you? Because like when I cut off secular music, I didn't think music had that much of an influence on me until I cut it off. Then I realized just how big of a difference it was without it. Yeah. So I would say if you are listening to this and you're not fully convinced yet that these songs will even have an influence on you, if it even has an impact on how you view love, then I would challenge you to cut it off for a specified amount of time, up to you how long, For me, it took maybe 2 weeks until I realized the difference that my life had with music and without secular music. Yeah. So I would say like at least 2 weeks, cut it off. Just don't listen to it. Listen to worship music instead. Fill your day up with something else. And see whether you see love differently or whether you have a new reflection on it. Yeah. Because then I think you're giving it a real chance, because we can be skeptical about something, but if we don't even test it out, then we may never know. Yeah.